right, welcome back. In the light of the recent developments regarding corruption investigation, it was learned from a memo released by the Chief of Staff, Gbajabiamila, that President Bola Tinubu had authorized the release of 3 billion naira for the purpose of verifying the National Social Register for the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, Betta Edu, under the previous administration of Muhammadu Buhari. The social register was created for cash transfers and other social investment programs. From the 3 billion naira granted to the suspended minister, several companies received contracts. This release has since sparked controversy and is being looked into by anti-graft and presidential investigators. Nigerians expected disapproval of this move on social media, characterizing the Chief of Staff's decision as callous in the light of the current economic struggle and that the country's population have endured since the current administration took over office on May 2023. Joining us to discuss this virtually also is Mr. Chukwuma, who is also a public affairs analyst and, of course, a public commentator as well. And, of course, still in here with us is Barrister Darlington. Again, a very good morning to you, Mr. Chukwuma. Okay, let's dive into it almost immediately. What do you make of this whole situation?
What I make of the whole situation is that it's a Nigerian thing. It is not strange. This is not the first time. And I'm very sure it will not be the last time. It has become a part of our daily lives. We live and swim in corruption and nothing happens. This is not the first time. In any case, what is 3 billion naira? 3 billion naira doesn't mean anything to the people that we are talking about. And surprisingly, the 3 billion naira is just a tip of the iceberg of what we don't know. What we don't know, we are talking about 33 billion naira that was paid out to the vulnerable. And as we speak, I cannot put my finger on any relation of mine from my village, from my local government, or from my ward that received money as part of the social investment program. So the 3 billion naira that is in issue now doesn't really mean anything to the people involved. It means a lot to us because we know what we can do with 3 billion naira. That said, the issue of corruption has become, like I said, is a Nigerian thing. It's from the leadership. We have a tainted leadership, right from the presidency, who has questions on his person. The Senate president is been investigation, and I guess it's still under investigation. The ministers, one minister I know, Matawale, is under investigation. About all the governors, almost all the governors are under investigation. 5 governors were listed the other day: TAOG, Sule Lamido, Sullivan Chime, Chimaroke Nnamani. All of them, TAOG, all of them are under investigation for humongous amounts of money that could have been used to build infrastructure and build Nigeria, build the Nigerian economy. But no, these things are in private pockets. And like I said, it's a routine. It's a routine. Don't be surprised that by next week, we'll get to hear about another 7 billion naira from somewhere. So having said that is a routine, it's normal. And the unfortunate thing is that by next week, we will have, now nobody is focusing on Betta Edu again. The focus has shifted from Betta to Gbajabiamila. Femi himself he has questions to answer. In the United States, in 2007, he was charged of withholding a client. He's a lawyer. He was charged with withholding a client's $25,000, which we eventually paid, I think, in 2009 or what. And today, that person has served as a Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives, his career was not damaged. Today, he is the Chief of Staff to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is the engine room of this government. The Office of the Chief of Staff is the engine room of this government. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing is swept under the carpet. Nobody is talking about Tunji Ojo again. Nobody is talking about Beta Edu. The focus is now on Femi Gbajabiamila.
Okay.
By next week, the focus will leave Femi and move to another issue. 2 weeks ago, it was killings in in Plateau State. Nobody is talking about it now. Okay. The only thing we have heard is that security meetings have been convened, and that is the end of it. Okay. So my take in it is that Nigerians, these people are taking us for a ride, and that is what we have become, a docile people.
All right.
A docile people who do nothing all the time.
Mr. Chukwuma, a quick one.
Speaking on that 2007 U.S. court case by Gbajabiamila, to prevent cases like this to keep on happening, what policy should the government put in place, and what consequences should do you think is good for the politicians to face when cases like this occurs?
When cases like this occur, see, my sister, see, the issue of policy, the policies are there. We have the ICPC, Independent Corrupt Practice Commission. We have the ICPC. What is the duty and responsibility of the ICPC? To look at government officials who, in one way or the other, have benefited unduly from government while still serving in government. Whenever there is a conflict of interest, the best thing is for ICPC to investigate, and if the person is found guilty, the person should step aside. We can't have tainted characters around the corridor of power and expect things to move on well. It doesn't happen that way. It does not happen. And unfortunately, like I said, we have a tainted leadership from the head of the leadership to the toe of the leadership. More than 75% of them have questions to answer.
All right, then. Now,
so it's not about policy. The constitution, and we have acts. The EFCC Act is bring
it's interesting. It's interesting because,
on the society.
It now feels like Nigerians should, bite their fingers for electing officers that have questionable character, because the president has, something hanging around his neck. The Chicago State University and some other allegations. His chief of staff has, and a whole lot of them actually. But anyway, before we proceed, before we go further into this conversation, let's look at a memo that's been credited to the chief of staff, Femi Gbajabiamila. Let's put that one up, and then we'll get questions much later. Let's have that one on the screen. Yes, there is. It's titled "Conveyance of Approval: Appeal to Use 3 billion naira from the COVID-19 Palliative Fund for verification of the National Social Register." For verification of the National Social Register. And then the content of it reads, the above subject refers, please be informed that Mr. President has approved the expenditure of 3 billion naira only from the COVID-19 Palliative Fund for verification of the National Social Register. Please accept the assurance of my highest regards. Signed, Femi Gbajabiamila, Chief of Staff to the President. Now, let me come to you now, Barrister Darlington. The National Social Register, basically NASCO, that's a National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, put that together as a way of giving hope to the poor and needy in Nigeria. Would you call that a monumental failure, saying that what was supposed to give hope to the needy has now been used to enrich those at the helm of affairs?
Yeah, it has become a conduit pipe for corruption, for siphoning money. That means ab initio, that program was never meant for the poor. Ab initio. Because you ask yourself, why is it that this thing was supposed to lift up the poor out of poverty? But since the program began, the number of poor people has been increasing. Eh? Are you not surprised? How many did they meet? What was the position of Nigeria in the poverty index? And what is it today under APC? That will tell you that what they say is not what they do. Don't listen to what they are saying. There is no truth in any of them. That is the reality.
All right,
So when I tell you that I'm doubting them, these are my facts. Because if this program was sincerely brought into being, the number of poor people in Nigeria would have been reduced.
Okay, now talking about reducing the number of the poor, Nigeria has been described to having multi-dimensional poverty.
Yes.
All right, that's different levels to it. There are those that have 9-to-5 jobs, but they are entrenched in poverty because what they earn is not even enough to transfer them to and fro.
They sleep in their office.
Exactly. Now, let's also look at the fact that a census has not been conducted in a long time. Do you think that is part of the reasons why we cannot pinpoint and say, okay, this is the number of people we are, and we know what census is really? It helps the government to plan and allocate resources.
Even if the census is conducted today, it will not make any difference.
Why so?
Because we are not good in safeguarding data. That census, if it is conducted, nobody will use it for anything. It's just just to fulfill all righteousness. Because I remember the last census, 2006, the man who came to conduct this present one that has become a subject of controversy, Festus Odimegu. When Jonathan appointed him, this man went around the whole world to go and look at how modern census is conducted. And he came back and said, from what is obtainable today, that the last census that was conducted was a fraud. And that is why the file is still in the archive. Nobody has used it, nobody touched it. So the man now said that he's going to give Nigerians a very good census that will be watertight based on what is going on in the world today. Moses, do you know that the moment this man said this thing, do you know what happened? One governor of Kano State, Kwakwanso, he ran to Jonathan in Aso Rock and said, you see this man, you want to make an MPC. This is Festus Odimegu. You know he came from the brewery. Kwakwanso told Jonathan, the man had been taking a lot of beer, that you should remove him. He should remove him, that the man is crazy. He doesn't know what he's doing. All because this man wants to give us the good and correct census. And that if Jonathan wants a second term, he should listen to him and do what he says. And of course, Jonathan, the obedient servant, he removed the Festus. Yet, second time, they did not give him. So, have I justified my claim now that nobody makes use? We don't like data. Government doesn't use data in Nigeria.
All right.
They just wake up and take a rational action.
Okay. Mr. Chukwuma, I know you're still with us. Now, I'm going to direct this question to you. How do you assess the Chief of Staff involvement and decision in the context of public sentiment, especially considering the economic struggles faced by the country's population? With this kind of memo, how would you assess it?
My first reaction is I have seen the memo. It's flying around on social media.
Okay.
Business Day has used the memo. As an editor, I wouldn't use that memo because it is questionable. I'm not doubting the plausibility of that memo, but the one I have seen it casts doubt. There is no letterhead. Is it Femi's letterhead paper, or is it the presidency? He could deny.
Of course.
He could deny. But beyond that, the issue of using 3 billion naira to investigate the social register is fraudulent. It is wickedness. It's an abuse of office. If ever we get to find out that actually Femi made an approval naira to be used to investigate a register that is already existing, that what you need to do is put it into, use an app. If it's already in the form of a data, use an app. There are apps that you can use to verify, first of all, the register itself. Then you can take randomly across the states, to investigate and find out if each local government, if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 20 people whose names are in that register that have benefited. This exercise, I have just said, is not going to cost more than 20 or 30 million naira. And we see somebody approving a whopping 3 billion naira. Just investigate a simple register. Okay, how do banks maintain their customer base? Do they spend that much to find out who their customer is? If at all there was a register. So the issue is, it is fraudulent. It is wickedness of the highest order, considering the fact that, like my colleague on the studio has said, Nigeria has become, the multi-dimensional poverty in Nigeria is at the lowest if you take a ranking of poor nations. About 3 years ago, when Buhari was in office, Nigeria was declared the poverty capital of the world. So it's insensitivity of the highest order. And for people who are saying Baja fraud, hashtag Baja fraud, what I expect the president to do in the interim is to ask Femi to step aside, conduct proper investigation on that 3 billion naira. And you know, when this thing happened, people were saying that Better Edu was not acting alone. And it has come to the fore now that he wasn't acting alone. One person is Tunji Ojo, another person is Femi Gbajabiamila. We should also find out which other people are involved in this scam, in this national scheme.
Mr. Chukuma, I would want you to hold your thoughts there. You just mentioned names. Now, at this point, the question now would be, what implication would all of these have on the credibility of this government after all of these names mentioned?
The government already has legitimacy issues based on the president himself, who has questions around his character. And like I said, the Senate president has questions around his character. The chief of staff has, Matawale has, Senate governors that are senators have questions of credibility around them. So what do you make out of it? Legitimacy and credibility, the twin issue of insecurity, corruption, economic malice. The whole thing is so complex, it's so muddled up to the extent that Nigerians don't even know where to look up to again. Because this is just 7 months that this government came into office, and we are having big revelations of what has happened. And like I said, these are the ones that we know. There are many of them that we don't know. You know how this one came about? It started with the 553 million naira that was transferred from the ministry's account to a personal account. And it is possible that the way things go, that one civil servant at the top has been shortchanged, and the person decided to squeal, you know, to unbottle the deal when he or she was shortchanged. So it is just a microcosm of what is happening. What is happening? Nigerians are lost. Personally, I don't even know what to think again. I don't know what to believe. How can our leadership put us in this mess? They're asking us to make sacrifices. They are not making sacrifices. People are stealing us to stupor, naira to investigate a register. What else don't we know?
He made a point here. Let me come to you now, Mr. Okoro made a point as to the legality of the documents, not having the letterhead of the office of the chief of staff. That, you know, when you look at it, really looks like a paper with a signature. Now, Are we going to verify the signature to know if it's truly
That
Mr. The Chief of Staff's signature? But regardless of that now, what does that make of this administration really in its fight against corruption? Because this administration is talking about fighting corruption. With all these springing up, what do you think? Is stepping aside the way to go? Should the Chief of Staff step aside? Or should he come out and defend himself whether or not he actually authorized that letter, authenticated it with his signature?
Please, has there been any disclaimer since that letter surfaced on the social media? Has there been any disclaimer from Gbajabiamila, or is he not aware? He cannot disclaim that letter.
He cannot?
He cannot. Nobody could write such a letter with his name. It's not possible. Nobody. That is why you have not had any disclaimer. And there will never be any disclaimer. Because it was read in the news by some radio stations. In the news. That a certain 3 billion had been authorized to be released by the president. So what else is anybody saying? This Gbajabiamila, I have always told people, you cannot give what you don't have. Anybody without a good character, you cannot expect anything from. It's not possible. APC saw Nigeria as a vineyard where they can come and take. It's like a looting ground. That is why since the administration, all manner of humongous looting of the treasury has been recorded. Since the administration, it became worse under them. I have told you here the other time when I was there, I said, with what is going on now, Nigerians should go and apologize to PDP. Because PDP, we can see now that PDP was a set. They were a set in office. At least this is a party that is in office now.
But we have those that cross.
It doesn't matter.
Into the
look,
APC.
APC you are talking about is Tinubu and Buhari. Are you aware?
No, I'm not aware.
I'm telling you now. APC is Tinubu and Buhari. That is why.
The others, they are just.
No. It is not.
They take orders?
Of course. Tinubu told you that he will continue from where Buhari stopped. Is that not what he's doing?
Yeah, but in the Buhari administration, we didn't see probes like this.
Quid probe?
We didn't see issues of office holders being accused of perpetrating fraud.
No. Don't be deceived. This is diversionary. Nothing will come out of it. Buhari did some probe. What came out of it? Even people that were properly jailed by the court for corruption, Buhari brought them out of prison and even gave them national honor. So as far as the APC is concerned, they have a covenant with corruption. They have covenanted Nigeria. That is why it is.
A little bit hard.
No. I mean, look at it now. How can a party come into office in just 8 years? They have broken all boundaries. Mention one thing you can be proud of APC in office. But I can sit down here and tell you what we benefited from PDP. Let somebody challenge me. All the things we benefited from PDP, even though they were not perfect, at least they had conscience. They had the people at heart. Tell me what you have benefited from APC. Insecurity, killing, corruption, bad economy, everything you can think of. And so you want me to sit there and say that what have they done? And I'm saying you that by the end of this year, it will get worse. Because there is nothing to show that they are even trying to improve anything. All this corruption fight is diversionary. What is it called? Tinubu will never relieve Gbajabiamila of his office. After all, when it was alleged that this same Gbajabiamila was collecting money from people to see Tinubu, and for people who want to get her, Tinubu came out and told you that he had faith in him, that people can make mistakes, this and that. He dismissed it and told her that he had faith in Gbajabiamila. So is it this one now that he's going to take action? He will not. After all, the two of them were in US. They were in US. They know themselves from US. And you can see the record coming there. Just last month or 2 months ago, a court in the United States now convicted the Gbajabiamila. He cannot go to US now. He can't. They convicted him of that theft. And that's your chief of staff. The man is not even bothered. They don't even care.
Okay, now,
No shame.
In the light of let me take you back to investors now. In fact, let me go to Mr. Okoro. In the light of these convictions and these allegations that are coming up on the president, his chief of staff, and other office holders, how again do you think this will affect the image of the country in international space?
Moses, I'll come to you. Let me tidy up something with Barrister Agomo. Okay. Barrister Agomo, please, I want to disagree with you on the basis of isolation of APC as the only corrupt entity in Nigeria. If you think back, right from Obasanjo, we had the issue of how much
You didn't
how
get,
much was
you
involved?
Hold on, before you go further, please. I am saying in terms of comparison.
No. You weren't comparing. It's not an issue of comparison now.
No, we must because PDP was in office for 16 years. Nigeria was never like this under them. That was
Nigeria was still like this. It was still like this. I want to refresh your memory.
Go ahead.
I want to refresh your memory about the electricity money that Obasanjo and Ndude Elumelu were involved in. I want to bring you up. I want to refresh your memory onto $2 billion that Dasuki was involved in. I want to bring your memory back to the Desiani Alice Madeke fleece that is uncountable. So we have always been like this. So it's an elite problem. It's an issue of elite consensus. Parties are just vehicles. The elite, they behave alike. Whether they are in the PDP, whether they are in the APC, it has always been stealing. How much was $2 billion? During Jonathan, that was 2011 to 15. Convert $2 billion to what it is now. And you see the level of impunity that has been running in this country over time. So that said, Moses, back to you, the issue of how the international community sees us. I have always said it in this studio and elsewhere. The international community, they shake hands with us. When we turn our backs, they put up their noses. You know, they put up their noses and say, look at these people. They know us. They know us. And I said the other day, there are countries are known for so many things. If you talk about America, it's about democracy. If you talk about India, IT, they are growing. If you talk about Vietnam, Thailand, you remember rice producing country. But when you talk about Nigeria, the thing that strikes you first is one, corruption and insecurity. So what image are we talking about?
And now forgery.
And so many ills that plague society. So the credibility, our credibility is zero. The few foreign we are talking about foreign direct investment. We go outside and market investors to come. Before while we are on air, we get an announcement that GSK is leaving, that Procter & Gamble is leaving, that ShopRite wants to leave. So why are we wasting money going outside to market investors? What image are we talking about? UAE has not removed the ban on us.
All right.
Rwanda has, so many other countries are opening up their countries. Meanwhile, people are gagging us from coming into their own.
Now, Mr. Chukwuma, to get your final thoughts on this particular topic before we move to the next one, in one sentence, I want to find out, what do you think the government can do at this time to address this particular issue and then to gain back public trust as a concluding thought on this particular topic?
I align myself with the thought of Barrister Agomo. The president will not do anything. So it is needless me telling him what to do. He's not going to do anything. And we are going to get once. We'll see worse things that we have seen. The only thing Nigerians should do is to brace up for 2027. and make sure that we vote out this government. It's as simple as that. Nothing will change.
Surprises you and decides to ask his chief of staff to step aside pending the conclusion of investigation. Would that give you
Let him prove me wrong. I said, let him prove me wrong.
All right, then. Okay.
All right.
Barrister,
Yes.
your concluding thought on this.
Good. You see, please, nobody should expect perfection from any human being. I have
In
told
the Nigerian
you,
case.
everywhere in the world, it is only God that is perfect.
Okay.
When PDP was in office, we had an economy. All these companies did not leave Nigeria. People now remember PDP with nostalgia. How they were buying rice, how they were buying foodstuff. I mean, is that not something you can be proud of? That yes, a government is in office.
So basically,
So what I'm not saying is that when you want to compare it
there
with
was
now,
corruption, but then the people had food on their
exactly,
table.
there was an economy.
So that
People
was a
didn't
better
feel it
corruption.
much. Yes, there was
That
an
was a
economy.
better corruption?
Yes, but in this case now, there is nothing to hold, nothing at all, nothing. At the PDP have conscience.
Okay.
They were running a government with conscience. But in this case, they don't even care. People were not murdered in this number. That's what I'm saying. So we had something to be proud of under PDP, even though they were not perfect. Why can't the APC leave us there where they met us instead of what we are seeing now? That's what I'm saying. So anybody thinking that there will be utopia or Eldorado, it is a lie because you cannot give what you don't have.
All right, then.
APC, we are never prepared for leadership. They were never.
This topic, and we'll be going into the next one. Now, Nyesom Wike, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, has reassured the locals that there is no reason for fear, stressing that both he and the security service chiefs, the security agencies, are awake and aware of the difficulties related to the territory's security. And that's talking about insecurity in Abuja, as you know, focusing on insecurity in Abuja, where kidnappers, bandits have been visiting homes, visiting estates, picking up people and demanding for ransom. We'll get more into this conversation when we come back from this break.